Good enough to join us when he's available. State Senator Roger Victory, Republican from Hudsonville, who represents Ottawa County, joining us right now on the hotline. Good morning, Senator. How are we doing today?
Not too bad. It's again, we were just kind of discussing. It's going to be a windy but sunny day in November. Typically, we get wind, but we don't get the sunshine. So we'll enjoy both, but just hopefully we don't kind of keep an eye on that lakeshore erosion when we get these gales of November blowing.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. One, obviously, is the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services putting the restrictions in around the state of Michigan that happened at 12:01 a.m. last night. And I thought this was a good comment. I was kind of surprised to see it, but I was glad to see it. Michigan Republican Speaker of the House, Lee Chatfield, who's Republican from Levering, called the effort a distraction on impeachment talk on Governor Whitmer. And he went on to say, Chatfield did, he told M Live that the effort to begin impeachment proceedings against the governor lacked merit. He said, quote, "We are not the party that impeaches someone because we're upset with the policies they've enacted," he said. "I thought it was shameful what the Democrats did to President Trump last year, and I would assume that any attempts by Republicans right now with the current set of facts that we have to impeach the governor would be on the same level." Just your comment on what the representative had to say.
Yeah, because, that creates a lot of noise. We saw that song and dance played out in Washington, D.C., and I think the speaker was correct on that, how the Democrats did that to President Trump in Washington, D.C. And then while in Lansing we have major issues to be dealing with. We have uptick in COVID. Our hospitals, our health care providers, well, we know firsthand right in Grand Haven, our facility is hitting capacity. After this show here, I'm going to the Holland Hospital. We're going to be doing a public service announcement, making sure that during the holiday season we basically use common sense. And I always say it's not what a governor will say or a senator will say, but up to the individual and the empowerment of the individual making the correct measures to control COVID. So these are things going on, and also we're going to have, we have some arrests shut down and some little increase in unemployment here. That's going to have budgetary impacts upon our state. So there's multiple things to be dealing with, and even we have an election that I have concerns over with. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, with a lot of absentee ballots. How did that work through? Was there issues with any software? These are things that I believe that need to be reviewed so that we have confidence in the vote. And so those multiple things on the agenda, and while we do those items, I believe that we should be focusing on those items and as we move forward.
How is the relationship between Republican leadership and the governor? I mean, when they sit down with her to talk, I mean, is it contentious? Is it not as bad as people think it is? I mean, where does that stand right now?
It has been, I'll describe it, one step forward, two steps back at times, and there's sometimes two steps forward and one step back. There was some movement going forward before the governor's announcement using the Department of Health and Human Services shutting some of these businesses down. There was working with the administration some aspects of using more of a nuance to it, and also empowering individual decision-making on it. And so there's an example of two steps going back, and before we're some headway making. So it's interesting times, and so it's not all scorched earth, but I would say it could always be better too. And that's what we need to continue to work on. I do say I've been able to work more with the departments. That was very problematic early on in COVID when there was no discussion going forward. So as some issues we're going to be dealing with Eagle, with Treasury, MDAR, the Michigan Department of Agriculture, I do appreciate that we can take on some issues outside of COVID and address those needs.
State Senator Roger Victory, Republican from Hudsonville, represents Ottawa County, joining us. Officials at the Unemployment Insurance Agency say they're prepared for the influx of claims with the new restrictions in place and people needing to file. They say you can now create an online appointment system, and you're guaranteed a time to talk to them. They got overrun back in March and April, and it took them a long, long time. I mean, is it any better now than it was before?
Well, I don't think it could get any worse. Let's start out there. So with that, the system has had some improvements. So with the influx of some new claims coming in because of the actions of the governor, especially in our hospitality industry, I was hoping that they have stepped up the plate. And there has been some implications of improvements worked through the legislative process, too, because we were helping and guiding that, and also through budgetary process, making sure there's funding available for that department. That's the role of the legislative body in the House and the Senate, so we amped that up some. But just to highlight, yesterday I had a couple of constituents that we were dealing with and taking their information, claims that still haven't been settled going back to March. Again, March. So now even some of the stuff that's on the docket that needs one-on-one attention still hasn't been cleared up. And so my concern is now we have another increase of claims. How about those hardworking men and women? Some might be working mothers with young children at home and still haven't got those payments going back to April or March.
Yeah. I don't know how many turkey farmers there are in Ottawa County or in Michigan.
A lot. Well, there's a lot of turkeys produced in Ottawa County. It's one of the top states for turkey production.
Really?
Listeners aren't aware of that. But yeah. The historical context of Billmar is now owned by Sara Lee. So Ottawa County is well known for some large turkey production. So it's former home of Billmar Turkey, and always known as Mr. Turkey, and that was sold out to Tyson, Sara Lee, and now it's Tyson Foods. So, yeah, that's where the original footprint of. And if you ever want to have an interesting read, there's a book called Mr. Turkey, and gives you the whole history in Ottawa County of the advent going back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s of how Ottawa County was key in the turkey industry.
Well, I saw a story on what
for the listeners today.
Yeah, well, thank you. You're like Denny Schwartout on our staff, who does our history moments in the Tri-Cities. Denny will be all over that once I tell him about that book. I'm sure he'll go back and read it. How are the turkey farmers doing? Because I wasn't quite sure how many there were. I know a lot of egg farms and stuff. I didn't know about turkeys. How are they doing during all this?
Well, yeah, it has been improvement on that. The process has been going through. The only probably disruptor in the system is selling the desire for smaller turkeys. I've been hearing that because of some of the smaller family gatherings. So probably won't have one large gathering, but have multiple family gatherings. And with that, small birds will probably be the hot item. And so if somebody is planning on looking for a smaller turkey, I would advise getting out there and securing that sooner the better, because otherwise you'll have a lot of leftover turkey to be eating up till Christmas time, probably.
Roger Victory joining us, State Senator from Hudsonville. What are some of the big things on your docket? What are some of the things you're working on, Senator?
Well, one item, too, is we continue to take calls on the election, making sure that we vet through the process and making sure if there's any the concerns that did occur with it. One thing I really appreciate here in Ottawa County with Justin Robeck, our clerk, he ran a very smooth election process here in Ottawa County. So that's something that's continuing on the radar screen. And in fact, I was in Washington, D.C. last week Friday, was at the White House and the office of Andrew Giuliani and reviewing a few things there. So that work continues on, and make sure we have the security of the vote going forward. And then also we have budgetary issues are going to be coming up going forward. So we're working on that, and things that might coming up in lame duck. There are a couple bills I have on the House side I'd like to get clear through, especially one area is dealing with work permits for young people to make sure they can secure those work permits remotely and not have to apply for those in person. Some lessons learned through COVID, and making sure that legislation gets passed through before the session concludes here in December.
And when do you go back in session? I know you're working on stuff now, but when do you guys and gals all get back to Lansing?
So there are days scheduled that could be majority floor leader calling a session. Right now, there are hearings going on. Our next one gathering would be after Thanksgiving, so that way we can start moving some of these bills that need to be done through lame duck. But if something needs to occur between that time, we are there to serve the constituents in the 30th district, and I keep in touch with the majority floor leader if the need arises.
Okay. Well, hey, next Thursday, your normal scheduled time is Thanksgiving. We're here. If you want to come on, you can. If you don't, that's fine too, being the holiday.
Okay, yeah. If you're going to be on the air, I'll look over the schedule. Typically, sometimes we have church I will be attending, but if services are not going to be held, I'll do the call-in. So that's we'll play that one by ear, and we'll if I can join you on Thanksgiving, I will do that. It's always an enjoyable time being on the air and with communicating to your good listeners.
Well, we appreciate that, and I'll talk to Amber, your PR person. We'll try to get something set up if you're available, okay?
Sounds good. Blessed day.
You too. State Senator Roger Victor, you're always good enough to join us today.